what's going on? Y'all welcome back to the entire Bible series. We stopped at Deuteronomy 3 last time we read, and now we are on Deuteronomy 4, and we're going to 9. So, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Israel urged to obey God's law. Now, O Israel, listen and pay attention to the statutes and the judgments, God's legal decisions, which I am teaching you to do, so that you may live and go in and take possession of the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, is giving you. You shall not add to the word which I am commanding you, nor take away from it, so that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I am commanding you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did at Baal Peor, for all the men who followed and participated in the worship of Baal or of Peor, the Lord your God destroyed them from among you. But you who held tightly to the Lord your God are alive today, every one of you. Look, I have taught you statutes and judgments, just as the Lord my God has commanded me, so that you may do them in the land which you are entering to possess. So keep them and do them, for that is your wisdom and your understanding in the night of the peoples who will hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us? Whenever we call on him, or what great nation has statutes and judgments so righteous, upright, just as the as this whole law which I am placing before you today? Only pay attention and watch yourselves closely, so that you do not forget the things which your eyes have seen, and they do not depart from your heart all the days of your life. Make them known to your children and your grandchildren, impressing these things on their mind and penetrating their heart with these truths, especially. Hold on. The gain on my mic is good, right? Okay. Especially the day you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb, Mount Sinai, when the Lord said to me, assemble the people to me, and I will let them hear my words, so that they may learn to fear me with all filled reverence and profound respect, all the days they lived on the land, and so that they may teach their children. You approached and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire to the very heart of the heavens. Darkness, cloud, and thick gloom. Then the Lord spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but you saw no form. There was only a voice. So he declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to follow, the 10 Commandments, and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. The Lord commanded me at that time to teach you the statutes and judgments, so that you might do them in the land which you are going to over to possess. So pay attention and watch yourselves carefully, for you did not see any form of God on the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb from the midst of the fire, so that you do not act corruptly and make for yourselves a carved or sculpted image to worship in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any animal that is on earth, or of any winged bird that flies in the sky, the likeness, the likeness of anything that crawls on the ground, or of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And beware, you do not raise your eyes toward toward heaven and see the sun and the moon and the stars and the host of heaven, and let yourselves be led astray and worship them and serve the mere created bodies, which the Lord your God has allotted to serve and benefit all the peoples under the whole heaven. Heaven just means sky, by the way. Calm down. Well, it can mean sky, but in this context, it just means sky. Okay, so calm down. Calm down. But the Lord has taken you and brought you out of the iron smelting furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people for his own possession, as you are this day. Now the Lord was angry with me at the waters of Meribah because of you, and he swore an oath that I would not cross the Jordan, and that I would not enter the good land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. For I am going to die in this land. I am not going to cross the Jordan. But you shall cross the Jordan, cross over, and take possession of this good land. So be on your guard and watch yourselves, so that you do not forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he has made with you, and make for yourselves a carved or sculpted image of in the form of anything which the Lord your God has forbidding you. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire. He is a jealous, impassionate, oh my gosh, impassioned. That does not say impassionate. That says impassioned. I know how to read, guys. Calm down. God, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely His. When you become the father of your children and grandchildren, and have grown old in the land, then if you corrupt yourselves by making a carved or sculpted image in the form of anything for the purpose of worship, and do evil things in the sight of the Lord your God, provoking him to anger, I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you today, that you will soon utterly perish from the land which you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You shall not live long on it, but will be utterly destroyed. The Lord will scatter and disperse you among the peoples, pagan nations, and you will be left few in numbers among the nations where the Lord drives you. And there you will serve false and foreign gods, the work of human hands, lifeless images of wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell the offering of food given to them. But from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him in your search for him with all your heart. Search for him with all your heart and all your soul. When you are in distress and tribulation, and all these things come to you in the latter days, you will return to the Lord your God and listen to his voice. For the Lord your God is a merciful and compassionate God. He will not fail you nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant with your fathers which he swore to them. Indeed, about the days that are past, those days which were before you, since the day that God created man on the earth, and ask from one end of the heavens to the other, has anything been done like this great thing, or has anything been heard like it? Did any people ever hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fires you heard, and still live? Or has any man-made God ever tried to go and take for himself a nation from within another nation by trials, by signs and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by an outstretched arm, and by great terrors, as the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? And for some reason, they still don't trust him. Anyway, it was shown to you that you might have personal knowledge and comprehension that the Lord is God. There is no other besides him. Out of is that my cat trying to get in my room? It is. Hold on. Out of the heavens he lets you hear his voice to discipline and admonish you. And on earth he let you see his great fire, and you heard his words from the midst of the fire. And because he loved your fathers, he chose their descendants who followed them, and brought you from the land from Egypt with his presence, with his great and awesome power, his dispossessing and driving out from before you nations that were greater and mightier than you, to bring you in, to give you their land as an inheritance. And it is this day. Therefore, know and understand today, and take it to your heart, that the Lord is God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is no other. So you shall keep his statutes and his commandments, which I am commanding you today. so that it may go well with you and with your children after you, so that you may live long on the land which the Lord your God has given you for all time. And they're still gonna mess it up. I mean, what? Anyway, then Moses set apart 3 cities of refuge beyond the Jordan towards the rising of the sun eastward, so that someone who committed manslaughter could flee there. That is, a person who killed his neighbor unintentionally and without previously having hostility towards him, and that and that by escaping and that by escaping to one of these cities he might claim the right of asylum and save his life. Bezer and the wilderness on the plateau for the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead for the Gadiites, whatever, and Golan and Bashan for the Manassites. This is the law which Moses placed before the sons of Israel. These are the testimonies, legal provisions, and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spoke to the sons of Israel when they came out of Egypt, beyond the Jordan, in the valley opposite Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived at Heshbon, who Moses and the sons of Israel defeated when they came out from Egypt. They took possession of his land, in the land of Og, king of Bashan, the 2 kings of the Amorites, who reigned across the Jordan to the east, from which is on the edge of the valley of the river Arnon, as far as Mount Sion, that is Hermon, with all the Arabah desert lowlands across the Jordan to the east, even as far as the sea of the Arabah, the Dead Sea, at the foot of the slopes of Pisgah. All right, here we go. The 10 Commandments repeated. Then Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, "Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments, legal decisions, which I am speaking today in your hearing, so that you may learn them and observe them carefully. The Lord our God has made a covenant with us at Horeb. The Lord did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us. And, all of us who are alive here today. The Lord spoke with you face to face at the mountain from the midst of the fire. I was standing between the Lord and you at the time, to declare you the word of the Lord, for you were afraid because of the fire and did not go up to the mountain," he said. He said, "I am the Lord, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourselves an idol as an object to worship, or any likeness, form, manifestation of what is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in water under the earth." Also, I had to do a little lesson on this like I think this is Exodus 20, obviously, but I had to do a little Bible exegesis on that, and I realized that of course I got corrected on it, but y'all wouldn't know about it. It was a while ago, like a long time ago. But anyway, yeah, I got corrected on it, and it was like, this is talking about idols. So when God commands, literally in the next chapter, let's say God's like, "Oh, okay, you make angels," and then I'm sure that people who don't know what God was talking about would clearly be like, "What? But he just said nothing on the heaven, nothing under the heaven, nothing on the earth, nothing in it." Like, okay, slow it down. Okay, the people weren't confused. Moses wasn't confused because they knew what he was talking about. They knew what he was talking about. You don't know what he's talking about, so you think that it's a supposed contradiction, when in reality you're just not doing your exegesis. Or just not reading in context. But anyway, yeah. Some people don't have reading comprehension skills, especially when it comes to the Bible. Whoa, dude, that motorcycle is loud. Did y'all hear that? I don't even know if that was a motorcycle. My blinds are closed, so that could have been anything. But yeah, tell me who that was, guys. Tell me in the comments who that was. Anyway, you shall not worship them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous and oh my gosh, how to say that? Im- Impassioned God, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely mine, visiting, avenging the iniquity, sin, guilt of the fathers on the children, that is, calling the children to account for the sins of their fathers, to the third, to the third and the fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing graciousness and loving kindness to thousands of generations for of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, that is, irreverently, in false affirmations or in ways that impugn the character of God. For the Lord will not hold guiltless nor leave unpunished the one who takes his name in vain, disregarding its reverence and his power. It's kind of hard to do that, actually. Like, you'd have to be actually just like autopilot mode. I don't know. Especially during Moses' time, you'd have to be on autopilot mode. Even then, though, it's like, what? How'd you even say that? Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, set apart, dedicated to God, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath, a day of rest, dedication to the Lord your God. On that day you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant or your ox or your donkey or any of your livestock, or the stranger who stays inside your city gates, so that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. You shall remember with thoughtful concern that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Honor, respect, obey, care for your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that all your days on the earth may be prolonged, and so that it may go well with you in the land which the Lord your God gives you. You shall not murder. Notice how it doesn't say kill. Yeah. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony, that is, lie, withhold, or manipulate the truth. Half truth is still a lie against your neighbor, any person. You shall not covet, that is, desire and seek to acquire your neighbor's wife, nor desire your neighbor's house, his field, his male servant, or his female servant, his ox, or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. All right. Moses interceded. The Lord spoke these words with a great voice to all your assembly at the mountain out of the midst of the fire, the cloud, and the thick darkness. And he added no more. He wrote these commandments on 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. And when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, with the mountain, while the mountain was burning with fire, you approached me, all the leaders' heads of your tribes and your elders, and you said, Behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness. When we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire, we have seen today that God speaks with man, yet he still lives. Now, then why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord of our God any longer, then we will die. For who is there of all flesh, mankind, who has heard the voice of the living God speak from the midst of the fire as we have, and lived? You, Moses, go near and listen to everything that the Lord our God says. Then speak to us everything that the Lord our God speaks to you, and we will listen and do it. The Lord heard your words when you spoke to me, and the Lord said to me, I have heard the words of the people which they have spoken to you. They have done well in all that they have spoken. Oh, that they had such a heart in them, that they would fear and worship me with all-filled reverence and profound respect, and keep all my commandments, and keep all my commandments always, so that it may go well with them and with their children forever. Go and say to them, return to your tents. But as for you, stand here by me, and I will tell you all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which you shall teach them, so that they may obey them in the land which I give them to possess. Therefore you shall pay attention and be careful to do just as the Lord your God has commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left, deviating from my commandments. You shall walk, that is, live each and every day in all the ways which the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live, and so that it may be well with you, and that you may live long in the land which you will possess. Right. Deuteronomy 6. Obey God and prosper. Now this is the command, the statutes and the judgments, precepts which the Lord your God has commanded me to teach you, so that you might obey them in the land which you are crossing over the Jordan to possess, so that you and your son and your grandson may fear and worship the Lord your God with all filled reverence and profound respect. Not powerful. Anyway, to keep and actively do all his statutes and his commands, which I am commanding you, all the days of your life, so that your days may be prolonged. Therefore listen, O Israel, and be careful to do them, that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in numbers, as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has promised you, in a land flowing with milk and with honey. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one, the only God. This is a good translation for the Muslims who go to Deuteronomy 6:4. They're like, see, your God is one. But then you go to the, okay, let's see what the Amplified translate, and they're like, what's that? And then you read it. It's like, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one, the only God. Ooh. And even if you do interpret it as the Lord is one person, even if you do interpret it as that, it's like, then you're just setting yourself up to look like an idiot. Now you're going to have to try and find your way around these verses. Like, I guess off the top of my head, I can think of Genesis 22, where that's establishing the angel of the Lord, which is really Jesus. Matthew 28:19, where that talks about being baptizing the nations in the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Then I think there's another one in Genesis where it says it's distinct. It's like it's Genesis 1 verse 2. Literally the second verse of Genesis. That the Holy Spirit is established. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that was extra. My cat really did not like that. You want to leave? You want to leave? You don't? Okay, I guess she doesn't want to leave. Alright. Where was I? You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, your entire being. These words which I am commanding you today shall be written on your heart and mind. You shall teach them diligently to your children, impressing God's precepts on their minds, and penetrating their hearts with his truths. Okay. And shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, forearm, and they shall be used as bands, frontlets on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Then it shall come, and when the Lord your God is when the Lord your God brings you into the land which he swore solemnly promised to give to your fathers, to Isaac, to Abraham, to Isaac and Jacob to give you a land with great and splendid cities which you did not build, and houses full of all good things which you did not fill, and Hun e- e- exav- exavacant exavacated exa- excav exca- the only way I see that is excavated cisterns, wells, which you did not dig out, and vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, and you eat all, and are full and satisfied. Then beware that you do not forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall fear only the Lord your God, and you shall serve him with all filled reverence and profound respect, and swear oaths by his name alone. You shall not follow other gods, any of the gods, any. Oh my gosh. What are you doing? What's this cat doing, man? What the frick are you doing? Alright. You shall not follow other gods, any of the gods of the peoples who surround you. For the Lord your God, for the Lord your God, who is among you, is a jealous, impassioned God, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely his. Otherwise, the anger of the Lord your God will be kindled and burn against you, and he will destroy you from the face of the earth. You shall not put the Lord your God to the test, as you tested him at Massa. You shall diligently keep foremost in your thoughts and actively do the commandments of the Lord your God, and his testimonies, and his statutes which he has commanded you. You shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, so that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the good land which the Lord swore to give to your fathers, by driving out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord has spoken. When your sons ask oh my gosh, in the time to come, saying, "What is the meaning of the testimonies and statutes and judgments, precepts which the Lord our God has commanded you?" Then you shall say to your son, "We were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Moreover, the Lord showed us great and terrible signs and wonders before our eyes against Egypt, Pharaoh and all his household. He brought us out from there in order to bring us in, to give us the land which he had sworn to give our fathers, so the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear him and worship the Lord our God with all filled reverence and profound respect, for our good always, and so that he might preserve us alive, as it is today. It will be considered righteousness for us, that is, right standing with God, if we are careful to observe all this commandment before the Lord our God, just as he has commanded us. Uh-oh. Warnings. When the Lord your God brings you into the land which you are entering to possess, and has cleared away many nations before you, the Hittite, and the Girgashite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you, and you defeat them, then you shall utterly destroy them. You shall not make a covenant treaty with them, nor show mercy and compassion toward them. You shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son, nor shall you take his daughter from your son. For they will turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of the Lord will be kindled and burn against you, and he will quickly destroy you. But this is how you shall deal with them. You shall tear down their altars, and smash to pieces their sacred pillars, and cut down their Asherim. symbols of the goddess Asherah, and burn their carved or sculpted images in the fire. Sounds like a demon that they got worshiping. For you are a holy people set apart to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you from all the peoples on the face of the earth to be a people for his own possession. That is his very special treasure. The Lord did not love you and choose you because you were greater in number than any other peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples, but because the Lord loves you and is keeping the oath which he swore to your fathers. The Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand and bought you from the house of slavery, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Therefore know without any doubt and understand that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful one who is keeping his covenant and his steadfast loving kindness to 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments, but repays those who hate him to their faces by destroying them. He will not hesitate. He will not hesitate with him who hates him. He will repay him to his face. Therefore you shall follow, obey the commandment and the statutes and the judgments, precepts which I am commanding you today. Promises of God. Then it shall come about, because you listen to these judgments and keep and do them, that the Lord your God will keep with you the covenant and the steadfast loving kindness which he swore to your fathers. He will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your land, your grain and your new wine and your olive oil, the offspring of your cattle and the young of your flock, in the land which he swore to your fathers to give to you. You shall be blessed above all peoples. There will be no male or female barren, childless, infertile among you or among your cattle. The Lord will walk away from you all sickness. Will take away from you all sickness. That does not say walk. What? Anyway, the Lord will take away from you all sickness, and he will not subject you to any of the harmful diseases of Egypt which you have known, but he will impose them on all those who hate you. And you shall consume all the people whom the Lord your God will give over to you. Your eyes shall not pity them, nor shall you serve their gods, for that would be a deadly trap to you. If you say in your heart, these nations are greater than I am, how can I dispossess them? You shall not be afraid of them. You shall remember with confidence what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all of Egypt. The great trials which you saw with your own eyes, in the signs, the wonders, the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm by which the Lord your God brought you out, so shall the Lord your God do to all the peoples of whom you are afraid. Moreover, the Lord your God will send the hornet, his terror, against them, until those who are left and hide themselves from you perish. You shall not dread. Hold on, I'm reading that right? You shall not dread them, for the Lord your God is in your midst, a great and awesome God. The Lord your God will clear away these nations before you little by little. You will not be able to put an end to them quickly, for if you did, the wild animals will be too numerous for you. But the Lord your God will hand them over to you and will confuse them with a great panic until they are destroyed. And he will hand over their kings to you, and you will make their name perish from under heaven. No man will be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. You shall burn the carved and sculpted images of their gods in the fire. You shall not covet the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it for yourselves, so that you will not be ensnared by it in a deadly trap. For it is an abomination repulsive. To the Lord your God. You shall not bring an abomination idol into your house, and like it come under the ban, doomed to destruction. You shall utterly detest, and you shall utterly hate it, for it is something banned. God's gracious dealings. Gracious. Every commandment that I'm commanding you today, you shall be careful to do, so that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which the Lord swore to give to your fathers. And you shall remember always. You shall remember always all the ways which the Lord your God has led you these 40 days in the wilderness, so that he might humble you and test you to know what was in your heart, mind. Whether he already knows, by the way, he just, yeah, whether you would keep his commandments or not. He humbled you, and allowed you to be hungry, and fed you with manna, a substance which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, so that he might make you understand by personal experience that man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that proceeds at the mouth of the Lord. Your clothing did not wear out on you, nor did your feet swell these 40 years. Therefore, know in your heart, be fully cognizant that the Lord your God disciples and instructs you just as a man disciples and instructs his son. Therefore, you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God, to walk, that is, to live, and every day in his ways, and fear him and worship him with awe filled reverence and profound respect. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, and that's not saying it, a land of brooks of water, of foundations and springs, of flowing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, and a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you will eat bread without shortage, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper. When you have eaten and are satisfied, then you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land which he has given you. Bless just means praise in some contexts. I guess in that context that means praise. So yeah. Anyway, beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commandments and his judgments, precepts, and his statutes which I am commanding you today. Otherwise, when you have eaten and are satisfied, and have built good houses and lived in them, and when your herds and flocks multiply, and your silver and gold multiply, and all that you have increases, then your heart will become lifted by self-conceit and arrogance, and you will forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. He led you through the great and terrible wilderness, with its fiery serpents and scorpions, and thirsty ground where there was no water. It was he who brought water for you out of the flinty rock. He fed you manna in the wilderness, a substance which your fathers did not know, so that he might humble you by dependence on him, and that he might test you to do good things for you at the end. Otherwise, you may say in your heart, my power and the strength of my hand made me this wealth. But you shall remember with profound respect the Lord your God, for it is he who is giving you the power to make wealth, that he may confirm his covenant which he swore solemnly promised to your fathers, as it is this day. And it shall come about, if you ever forget the Lord your God, and follow other gods and serve them and worship them, I testify against you today that you will most certainly perish. Like the nations which the Lord causes to perish before you, so shall you perish, because you would not listen to and obey the voice of the Lord your God. Alright, intense. Israel provoked God for the 10 billionth time. No, I'm kidding. Hear, O Israel, you are crossing the Jordan today to go in to dispossess nations greater and more powerful than you, greater cities fortified to heaven, a people great and tall, sons of Anakim, whom you know and of whom you have heard it said, who can stand before the sons of Anak? So today, with confident assurance that the Lord your God is crossing the Jordan before you like a devouring fire, he will destroy them, and he will subdue them before you, and you shall drive them out and destroy them quickly, just as the Lord had promised you. Do not say in your heart when the Lord your God has driven them out before you, because of my righteousness, the Lord has brought me into this into possess this land. But because of the wickedness of these nations, the Lord is dispossessing them before you. It is not for your righteousness or for the upright of your heart that you are going to dispossess their land. But because of the wickedness of these nations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you. And to confirm the oath which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Know without any doubt that the Lord your God is not giving you this good land to possess because of your righteousness. For you are a stiff-necked, stubborn, obstinate people. True. Remember with the remorse, and do not forget how you provoked the Lord your God to wrath in the wilderness. From the day you left the land of Egypt until you arrived in this place, you have been rebellious against the Lord. And at Horeb, Sinai, you provoked the Lord to wrath, and the Lord was so angry with you that he would have destroyed you. When I went up to the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenants which the Lord made with you, I remained on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I did not eat food or drink water. The Lord gave me the 2 tablets of stone written with a finger of God, and on them were written and the words which the Lord had spoken to you, and the mountain of the midst of the fire on the day of the Lord of the on the day of the assembly. There you go. It came about at the end of 40 days and 40 nights that the Lord gave to me the 2 tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenant. Then the Lord said to me, "Arise, go down from here quickly, for your people whom you brought from Egypt have acted corruptly, then have quickly turned aside from the way which I commanded them. They have made a molten image for themselves. Furthermore, the Lord said to me, I have seen these people, and indeed they are stiff-necked, stubborn, obstinate people. Let me alone so that I may destroy them and wipe out their name from under heaven, and I will make of you a nation mightier and greater than they." So I turned and came down from the mountain while the mountain was burning with fire, and the 2 tablets of the covenant were in my 2 hands. And I saw that you had indeed sinned against the Lord your God. You had made for yourselves a molten calf idol. You got Aaron to do it. You had turned aside quickly from the way which the Lord had commanded you. So I took hold of the 2 tablets and threw them from my 2 hands and smashed them before your very eyes. Then as before I fell down before the Lord for another 40 days and another 40 nights. I did not eat food or drink water because of all the sin you had committed by doing what was evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. For I was afraid of the anger and absolute fury which the Lord held against you. Enough divine fury to destroy you. But the Lord listened to me that time also. The Lord was very angry with Aaron, angry enough to destroy him, so that I prayed for Aaron at the same time. I took your sinful thing, the calf which you had made, and burned it in the fire and thoroughly crushed it, grinding the metal thoroughly until it was as fine as dust. And I threw its dust in the brook that came down from the mountain. At Taberah also, and at Manasseh, and at Kibroth Hattava, you provoked the Lord to wrath. And when the Lord sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, "Go up and take possession of the land which I have given you," then you rebelled against the command of the Lord your God, and you did not believe and rely on him, nor did you obey his voice. You have been rebellious against the Lord for the first day that I knew you. From the first day that I knew you. So I fell and lay down before the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, because the Lord had said he would destroy you. Then I prayed to the Lord and said, "Oh Lord God, do not destroy your people, even your inheritance, whom you have redeemed through your greatness, whom you have brought from the land from Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember with compassion your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do not look at the stubbornness of this people, or at their wickedness or at their sin, so that the people of the land from which you brought us will not say, because the Lord was not capable of bringing them into the land which he had promised, and because he hated them, he has brought them out to the wilderness in order to kill them. Yet they are your people and your inheritance, whom you have brought out by your grace and by your outstretched arm. Yeah, Moses. Yeah. Amen. No, that was interesting though. Not much, not too much to say after reading that. I will say the Deuteronomy is it's kind of like a summary basically. All right, God bless.